So consumers might get to do an extended test drive for 2, 3 days of a potential EV vehicle that maybe they were considering. It doesn't take the whole life cycle of the car for them to realize that range isn't as big as a concern as they thought.
Welcome to EV Insider by Recurrent, where we make it easier to buy and sell electric cars by giving you access to leaders from across the industry. Let's get started.
My name is Nathan Shaver. I'm the managing partner of Shaver Automotive Group. I was previously affiliated with the Nori Shaver Automotive Group, which has 17 stores in Southern California, LA, and Orange County metro-based group. In 2024, I left to acquire my first business, which is a Stellantis dealership in Thousand Oaks, California.
I have a theory. I want to sort of like test this on you on the ground, that a first time EV buyer today is like, they gotta have 300-mile range. Like it's got to say 300 on there. The second time EV buyer is like, yeah, I'm good with 250. What do you think? True or false?
I agree with that.
You think so?
I agree with that
That's your
because,
experience?
yes.
Wow.
Yes, completely. And, if anywhere, range would be more important, it'd be in Southern California where everybody commutes.
Yeah.
But if someone is getting a second EV vehicle, it means they've made the modifications to their lifestyle to where range anxiety is no longer a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas that first time EV owner, range anxiety is more real because they haven't experienced how driving an EV is going to change their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when they realize that it's not that big of a deal as some people portray it as, the concern might go away.
Yeah. That's just like such an interesting difference between buying criteria and use criteria, like, because presumably that 300-mile, the person who's like, I need the 300-mile, they very quickly turn into, yeah, I would have been good with 250. It doesn't take them years to get there. They sort of figure it out right away. And is there something odd there? Like, I don't know exactly how to solve for that, but there's something really like an interesting disconnect. I don't think you can just convince people, no, you don't need 300. But there's got to be some other way to do it.
I don't know about the other OEMs, but Stellantis did push its dealer network to put all of the EV models into their CTP fleet. So consumers might get to do an extended test drive for 2, 3 days of a potential EV vehicle that maybe they were considering.
Yeah.
And like you said, it doesn't take the whole, life cycle of the car for them to realize that range isn't as big as a concern as they thought. Maybe if they're able to get in the car for a few days to where they do have to charge the car a few times, they do, realize, oh man, the charge is getting low, so I need to go find a charging station. If they go through that 2, 3 times, it's enough for them to realize how it actually impacts their day-to-day life.
You shared with me that you kind of like, you have a really different sales process for someone who comes in the store who has owned an EV before versus one who hasn't. Can you kind of like talk to me about like the differences in that process once you determine that question?
First-time buyers of EV vehicles are jumping into the deep end, so to speak, and you have to walk them through a lot of the common misconceptions or the things that are changing quickly in the EV space. So they might not have the personal experience with of that vehicle to where you have to coach them through the basics. Someone who's buying their second EV, they already know. They've made the adjustments in their life to deal with range, for example. And then, it becomes really about all of the normal considerations of buying any type of vehicle. Do the numbers make sense? How does this financial decision affect their life as a whole?
Yeah.
And if they enjoyed what they enjoyed or the trade-offs that were made with their first EV, where they're considering doing it again, or they're going back to an internal combustion engine vehicle. But to be honest with you, most of my customers who are EV adopters
Mm.
are staying in EV vehicles.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
see a lot of transitioning back to ICE, but that might change as options in the Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram brand in particular, maybe others as well. But if we don't have the products available,
yeah.
maybe they defect.
You are on the ground in what is still the leading EV market in the country. Like, what is the real story of like post uh, tax credit land? Like, what's been going on in the market since October 1st for in California?
It's slowed down. You know, for my brand in particular, the Wrangler 4XE was the standout winner. It was in 2023, 2024, it was the highest performing new car across the territory for Stellantis by far. Now, some people argue that the leasing program on the Wrangler 4XE Willys played a contributing factor. But across the broader EV market in California, there definitely is an affinity. I think Stellantis is an interesting brand to look at kind of the cross section between customer interest in EVs in California in particular, because
Yeah,
there's some obvious winners and there are some that fell short.
yeah.
So, I still have six Wagoneer S's that I purchased and have been in my new car inventory from before the federal tax credit. I
Okay.
think that type of a situation is to consumers' benefit if they can still find them while they last.
Yeah.
And the Charger, for example,
Mhm.
beautiful car, high performance vehicle, but
I mean, super fun with those engine noises coming out the back. Like it's so cool. It made me giggle when I sat in one and revved the engine.
let's talk about that.
Okay.
I thought they did a good job replicating what an engine sounds like,
Yeah.
but I think that car missed its mark for the type of consumer that it was originally designed for.
Okay.
The Charger and Challenger has been a great product line for Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram historically,
Yeah.
and that vehicle didn't connect with
Mhm.
the customer that traditionally is interested in purchasing a Charger and a Challenger.
Yeah.
It's more expensive, but I don't think that's what the issue was. I think the traditional internal combustion engine, high horsepower, gearhead, sports car type of person that was attracted to the Charger and Challenger were not attracted to this vehicle.
Yeah.
And then your EV buyer that was considering cross brand shopping chose often went in a different direction.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, to be fair, it made me giggle. I didn't go and buy one. Like, I thought that there was a delightful moment there. But someone that I talked to was like, yeah, like it was cool, it made the noises, but it didn't vibrate. He was like, there wasn't a haptic feedback. And like he was more of that sort of like, old school Charger driver, and he wanted that, but there was a missed emotional moment, like it was like partway there, but not quite, for him. I thought
The
it was
rumble,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too. All the OEMs had to take chances and make
Yeah.
bets over the last couple years, and hats off to Stellantis for trying something innovative.
Yeah.
And we've all learned from that vehicle, I think.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd say the same thing with the Wagoneer S. The fact that it has an openable sunroof, like that's the only EV I've ever sat in that has one, and that was another moment of delight for me. Like I was like, oh, this is like a Rivian with an openable roof. That's great. Like,
So Stellantis, invited sales managers and executives to go to drive events for the cars, and I was blown out of the water with the performance and handling of that vehicle.
yeah, yeah,
It's really an incredible vehicle, and I think it looks great too.
yeah, yeah. And how is it doing though? I mean, like you said, you have some unsold ones sitting there, but like what's been the market reception there?
Not as great as I would have hoped.
Okay. And what do you attribute to? Price point? Like what is it?
Yeah, that's probably the big one. I mean, Jeep is a fantastic brand. that's a unique, compelling type of a vehicle.
Mhm.
there's not anything else on the marketplace like a Wrangler, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as the prices of all new cars increased during COVID,
Yeah.
Stellantis was their prices were affected more than most of the other OEMs.
Mhm.
I'm paraphrasing here, but I think it was over 50%, over 35%, something tremendous over a 5 year period of time. And when customers are considering high end luxury SUVs, I don't know if that's the type of customer base that the brand's built a relationship with over time.
Yeah.
The Wagoneer S is a smaller SUV, and it kind of has a Range Rover feel to me. But
Yeah, I get that.
the type of people that are shopping for vehicles at that price point, I think that we
Yeah,
lost a lot of the comparison shopping.
I see. So zooming out from just this quarter, right? Like, I think of California as like the way things go in a lot of ways, right? So like, what trends have you noticed this year that you think that might hit the rest of the country in 2026, 2027 in terms of EVs?
I think the technological innovation story of electric vehicles is a no-brainer. I think over time it's going to be a superior product
Yeah.
than what consumers have available to them. I'm particularly interested in software-defined vehicles and how data organization, data purity can unlock improvements in our industry over a longer period of time. And I think it's a shame how politicalization has negatively influenced that over the short term. So
Mhm.
if I know that's kind of zooming out to 5, 10 year range type of response, but I think the biggest change in the short term is how change in political leadership has oscillated significantly between the last two presidential regimes, and the impact that has had both in the Biden administration and the
Yeah.
Trump administration.
Do you think that EV sort of attitudes are at that same level of like political identification, like you're an EV person or you're not, based on your politics? Is that getting more intense or less?
For me, I separate between how that influences consumer perceptions
Yeah.
and also with how politicians and institutions can help or hurt EV
Mm.
adoption.
Yeah.
So my concern, despite what the way that I appraise the technology and what I think is best for the future of our business,
Yeah.
I think that oscillating between different political regimes, um, EV being a polarizing issue, it could continue to oscillate. That can be difficult and painful for our industry. I mean, put yourself in the OEM shoes. I mean,
Yeah.
all of these large investments and strategic decisions that just don't work in 4 year timeframes.
Yeah. So I mean, not that our government's capable of this, but what would be the neutral position that like a future presidential administration could take that would stop the oscillation to either side and you think would be the beneficial sort of like policy approach?
Making a strategic decision about the future of the global automotive industry and thinking more long term. Charging
Mm.
infrastructure shouldn't be a political issue. I know that deployment of limited resources is. And the silver lining to me is I do think that electricity as a utility is going to continue to expand because of what's going on with AI in a way that will be a tailwind for the EV industry.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna rewind a whole bunch back into history. The first EVs were on the roads in the 1890s. I believe your family was in the auto business at that point, right? Are you like fifth generation or something like? Maybe not that far. Okay, first EVs were on the road in the 1890s. What was the range, the electric range of like by 1895? What would you guess?
75 miles.
Yeah, 80-mile range
No way.
by
Okay. Good
1890,
guess, huh?
right? Now, I fast forward, I think about this a lot because I'm like, so the Nissan Leaf came out in 2011, also with an 80-mile range, actually 75-mile range. So we didn't get all that far in that period of time. Um, Now, I will say that they could only go 10 miles an hour back then versus, a lot faster speeds, so that we made some progress there. But one of the things I think is really interesting is the rate of change and sort of on things like range, battery size, charging speed, charging options. Just so today, just to give a little bit of data on this, like the average range of a 2025 model year is about 280 miles. Like just if you look at average the entire fleet, that goes up to 292 miles for the 2026 model year. Again, the entire sort of auto industry. So we're kind of approaching that 300-mile range, up from 75 miles, in 2011 with the Leaf. Where do you think that sort of like settles in? Do you think that it's just like we get to 300 and that's it, or do you think that on average, or do you think that that needs to keep on going over the next few years?
Right now, I think 400 miles unlocks a lot, especially in California, where automotive dependency or commuting, overuse of the freeway system is a big part of the way that we interact with our cars.
Uh-huh.
But that's not the whole story. The pace of charging is the other component to answering that question. I don't, colloquially, I don't know a lot of people that need more than 100 miles per day. And
Yeah,
if the rate of charging was as fast or close to how long it takes to fill up a tank of gasoline, then
yeah,
maybe extended range wouldn't be necessary. Yes, people go on extended trips every once in a while, but the same thing. When you go
yeah,
on an extended trip, maybe you have to pull over and fill up the tank of gas. So, um, 300 miles unlocks a lot. I think with the pace of charging right now, extending that a little bit further
mm,
would make EVs more approachable to first-time adopters. But as the pace of charging improves, also maybe extended range doesn't become as big of an issue for some people who
yeah.
might hesitate over it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up fast charging speeds. That's another metric we look at on a fleet-wide basis. And the average sort of the number we use is like the time to add 100 miles of range to your car. That's not the sort of standard one, but that's the how we sort of see most people doing it. And the 2025 average was, again, average 16 and a half minutes to add 100 miles. In the 2026 model year, that drops down to 14 and a half minutes. So there is pretty big improvement chunks happening there. Um, and that's an average. Like there are cars that you can get, add 100 miles of range in 7 or 8 minutes now, So I think that we are getting to that sort of like gas dwell time, same as the gasoline fill up dwell time. It's not quite there though. But it sounds like you feel like there's a threshold around that as well.
Agreed. And I would add one more thing
Okay.
to this discussion. How long does
Yeah.
it take a customer to get to a fast charging station?
Yeah, well, that's a fair point. I mean, the more there are of them, the less, right? So if
Yeah,
you're having to drive out of your way and you don't have to drive out of your way to get to the gas station, that those costs do factor in. I do want to share the stat about, this year we just got the latest sort of like charging infrastructure build out. There were 17,000 new fast charger ports opened nationally versus about 14,000 last year. So the pace of new chargers is actually accelerating, which is, I think, and it's actually accelerating at a rate where it's more than holding pace with the number of EVs on the road, the growth in the EVs on the road. So it feels like it's in about the right sort of like adoption speed at this point, anyway.
definitely agree. A trend that I'm very excited about,
Mhm.
and a one that I'm excited to see is, hasn't slowed down in the last 18, 24 months.
Thanks for joining this episode of EV Insider. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.